How much money do you need to be able to retire comfortably? Ultimately, the question I like to ask people is how much money do you need to be able to maintain your standard of living on a guaranteed basis for the rest of your life? It's a question that most people don't know the answer to because they don't know the key variables and key components to look at to be able to come up with an answer that makes sense for them. In this video, I'm going to cover everything that you need to know. I'm going to take a scenario test case. I'm going to work it out on the board behind me here. And ultimately, we're going to get into this. And by the end of it, everything that you need to be able to measure, you're going to walk away from this video understanding how to calculate how much money you need to have in retirement to be able to maintain your standard of living on a guaranteed basis for the rest of your life. So let's get into this. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. That way you're notified every time I launch a new video. And look forward to this. Let's get in there. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and this video we're going to be going over how much money do you need to be able to retire and be comfortable, maintain your standard of living. Remember, it's not about how much money we have, it's about what that money is going to do for us in retirement. We have to take all sorts of variables into the equation. We're no longer earning income. Ultimately, that's the goal, is to not have to have active earned income. The goal is to have our assets provide that income for us. And so when we're doing that, we have to take into account certain risks, like sequence of return risk. If the market goes down, right, like 2008, like 2000 to 2002, like the pandemic in 2020, like ultimately what we're going through at this very moment, the worst thing that you can do is liquidate negatively performing assets. And so understanding that sequence of return risk and what happens if there's a negative year, the first couple of years you retire, what happens if there's a negative period, a decade into retirement, how does that impact you? And ultimately, what can you do to eliminate those risks off the table altogether? It's not a matter, once again, it's not a matter how much money you have. The goal is to get to a place where that money, that pile of money, that lump sum of assets that you've accumulated is designed and structured in a way that kicks off the cash flow that you need to insulate and protect your standard of living on a guaranteed basis for the rest of your life. And then once you get that taken care of, now we can start thinking about the next generation and optimizing for inheritance and stuff like that, if that's something that you're concerned with. Now, what I did was I used, and I'm gonna just go to my board here, I used an example. We're taking a 40-year-old income earning $100,000. I'm assuming certain things here, like a 3.95% inflation rate. Now, why am I assuming 3.95% inflation? It's because since 1970, when the United States ultimately went off the gold standard, inflation has averaged, this is the actual inflation rate of 3.95%. Now, I know the Federal Reserve likes to tell you that their target rate of inflation is 2%, but the bottom line is when you have higher inflation, you can't squeeze that toothpaste back in the tube. You need a lot of negative years to make up for high years. Look at where we are right now. Inflation, as I make this video, is 7.1%. A couple months ago, it was 9%. So we're going to need to do a lot of work to get back down to this 3.95%. And I would argue that maybe that's not even enough to consider for the next 20, 25 years. Because I think we're potentially, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but potentially we're in for a decade of higher inflation. And ultimately we're saying, all right, this person is like the average American and they want to retire at the age of 65. So this leaves a 25-year window. This is really, really easy math to account for. Now, before I get into any of that, one of the things that I do want to say is I am not accounting for Social Security, right? So I'm going to just say Social Security. I'm taking that out of the equation in this this example, simply because it's something that I'm never going to bank on, right? I'm not banking on Social Security personally. I think anybody that banks on Social Security being there or being there I don't think it's ever going to go away, but being there in its current form is just not reasonable. We're $33 trillion in debt almost. We got $173 trillion of unfunded liabilities. Can't draw blood from a rock. I think eventually in the next 25 years, it's only common sense that something is going to have to give. This Ponzi scheme has been going on far too long. I do think it'll be there. How much is going to be there? How it will impact you? Maybe the age that you can reach full retirement with Social Security gets bumped up to 72 or 75 or something like that. So there's just variables that are almost inevitable with Social Security that will come into play. So for that sake, I'm not accounting for it. But what I will say for your own equations as you're looking at this and implementing it in your life, if you're somebody that says, hey, I want to account for Social Security on some level, you can do that and it'll be okay. You'll know exactly how to calculate this on your own. So here's what we need to do. We need to say, all right, how much are we saving? So you go, okay, so your income is 100, okay? And then you got to subtract out how much money you're saving, right? So let's say, and that's going to equal your lifestyle, okay? So it's income, I should have said income minus savings equals lifestyle. Make no mistake about it, if you're not saving it, you're spending it and it goes into your lifestyle. So everything outside of your income, you got 100,000 income, you take out your savings, and then the rest of it, whether it's taxes, whether it's lifestyle expenses, fixing your house up, going on vacations, paying for food, doing any of that, that is how you come up with lifestyle. So what do we got to do here? Let's take an average person and we say they're doing 100,000 a year of income. That's the income. And then they're saving 10%, 10,000 per year. That's savings, right? And so that is, their lifestyle is $90,000. The rest of it goes into taxes and lifestyle expenses. So what do we do here? Why is this inflation rate so important? This inflation rate is so important because of the fact that if we take into account what's called the rule of 72, the rule of 72 says at 3.95% inflation, the question is how much money. Once again, it's not about, the question is not how much money do I have, the question is how much money do I need, right? And so this $90,000 is what we call purchasing power, right? It's worth $90,000 today. Now it's fair to say that $90,000 is worth more today than it's going to be 25 years from now. The question is how much more? When we take in 3.95% as an inflation number, what this means is every 18.22 years, so I'm going to just say 18 years just to keep numbers simple. So every 18 years, your money is going to double, or the money is going to need to double. You're going to lose half of your purchasing power. So 18 years from now, that 90 has to equal $180,000 of income just to maintain your purchasing power. That's a big deal, okay? So now, once moreover, you're talking about, if we were talking 18 more years, that money would go, the 180 would turn into 360. This is the negative power of inflation. Everybody talks about the power of compounding interest. Well, guess what? Inflation is compounding against us, and it will catch up at the same time. Now, remember, we got this 25-year window. So 18 years, let's call it half over. Let's go here. So 3.95, that's 18. So let's call half of 18 again to get to the 25, a little less than half. Let's just ballpark this and say that you're going to need 25 years from now, because once again, this isn't exact. I'm just trying to get you the concept here. Let's just say you're going to need 250,000, right? Or I could actually do it here. I could, you know what? Why don't I do it? I'll do 180,000 times 1.0395 equals times 1.0395 equals times 1.0395. 3.395 4 times 1.05 1.0395 6 times 1.0395 7 $236,000. All right, so 7 years after that, it's 200. Mikhail, you can actually edit that a little bit and kind of expedite me doing the calculations. So we got $236,000 is actually what you will need for income just to maintain this standard of living based on $90,000. So basically 25 years from now, right, 236 is going to be equal to the purchasing power of 90K today. That's pretty crazy. Most people have a hard time wrapping their head around it, but that's just the facts. It's the way it works. It's just the way it goes. It's the reason why back in 1971 you could buy a Mustang GT sports car for $6,000, $5,000. You know, it's things get more expensive, and that's only 50 years ago. And you know, the cost of those things have more than 10x, and that's because of inflation. And so that's no secret. Now, what does that look like? You know, so now what do we have to do? We have to say, all right, well, how much money do we need in retirement? So we're looking at this going, all right, so we know based on the purchasing power, if I'm 40, once again, the question then becomes, all right, is the $100,000 enough, or do I want to increase my standard of living? Is this standard of living that I'm living right now at $100,000 enough? Do I think it's going to be bigger? Well, ultimately, I think you can only plan for where you are right now because nobody knows what the future holds. And so you have to kind of take that into the consideration. You just have to adjust your plan as this 100,000 gets bigger and it goes up. You just have to adjust your plan accordingly, and you have to start saving a higher percentage of your income that you start earning to make up for it to get to there. So now here we go. So the real number here, and I'm going to just kind of scroll up here, the real number here that we're going for at 65 years old is $236,000. That's how much money that we are going to need to live off to maintain our standard of living. So then the question goes, how much money do we need to be able to maintain this standard of living? Well, there's a rule, it's called the 4% rule. And basically what the 4% rule is says you can safely distribute 4% of any account without running a significant risk of running out of money, right? So what does that mean? That means 236,000 has to be 4% of a number. So what is that? So 236, 4% equals. All right, so basically what this is saying, according to the 4% rule, to be able to pull $236,000, we need $5,900,000 in an account to be able to pull off of that $236,000, right? So when you take a 40-year-old earning $100,000 right now you maybe have saved some already. Once again, this isn't a conversation about a strategy on how to save and how to get there. This is a conversation about what is this number that you need to be able to maintain your standard of living on a guaranteed basis for the rest of your life once you hit retirement based on your goals. So if you're earning $100,000 now and you're 40 and your goal is to retire at 65, well, regardless of how old you are now, well, I guess, you know, we have the 40 and we know this 25-year window. We need to know that 25-year number to be able to account for inflation. So that's one of the things that you need to do is you need to figure out how to double it. So going back, no matter how old you are, you want to take your age and you want to actually take your retirement age and you want to minus your age equals years till retirement, right? And then what you want to do is that's going to give you a number, right? And what you want to do is you want to take that number and then you utilize the rule of 72, which uses inflation to figure out how long is it going to take for your number to double. So then you take your income, you utilize the rule of 72. Once again, that's this 3.95% right here. And you say 3.95% or 72 divided by 3.95% was 18 years, right? So what I would do is I would take this number. You know that every 18 years, the money is going to double. So for instance, just to keep this really simple, if you're 36 years away from retirement, what would that make you? That would make you 29, right? 29, 39, 49, 59, yeah, 36 years. So if you're 29 years old and you know that we have to account for this inflation number, well, then we know that your money is going to double twice over, right? So if you're earning $100,000 today, 18 years from now, you need $200,000, right? And if 18 years from that, so that's 18, and then 36 years from now, you're looking at needing $400,000 because that $200,000 is going to compound against you. And ultimately, to maintain your standard of living at 29 years old, you'd need $100,000 to turn into $400,000 a year, which is a much bigger number. The problem is a lot of people are saving for retirement thinking that they're planning for this number. They're not taking inflation into consideration, and it's absolutely catastrophic to their plan. You need to be able to do that, and you need to be able to calculate that. So when you go into this, what you do is you utilize this equation. You utilize what we have going on here to figure out what your numbers are. And then you utilize the 4% rule, and you can take 4 million or 400,000 divided by 4% equals, and I can do this really quickly, just to give this example, 400,000 divided by 4% is $10 million. The challenge is most people don't believe that they're going to get to $10 million in their plan. When they're earning $100,000 and saving $10,000 a year, the psychologically, it's really hard to believe that you're going to get to $10 million. But unfortunately, this is why most people are struggling. This is why, when we talk about inflation being the greatest hidden tax on the middle class, this is what we're talking about. We're in this inflationary environment right now, and the middle class is just getting eviscerated, right? The middle class gets destroyed by inflation much worse, because when inflation goes up, that means the purchasing power, the value of your money goes down, so it has a greater impact on your standard of living than it does for the upper class or the wealthy, the top 5%, let's say, in the country. It's a big deal. And so you need to kind of take this into consideration. Now, I'm not going to get into this, but let's face it, I don't think anybody believes that this $10 million is reasonable, right? And so this is one of the reasons that I always tell people, and it's one of the reasons I wrote my book, Cash Flow Hacking, and it's a big reason that I've got the revised version of Cash Flow Hacking that goes much more in depth coming out in January. The reason I've done this is because I'm a big believer that you need to kind of go against the traditional way of investing and saving, because the traditional way is leaving 95% of the people in this country up the creek without a paddle. There's no results. The results are, I guess there are results, and they're atrocious. And so you want to make sure that you believe in anything that you're going to do. I use this phrase a lot, is the human brain only allows you to put 100% of effort into something you believe with 100% certainty you're going to be successful with. And when you think about that, I don't know a person alive making 100 grand that actually believes subconsciously that they're going to get to $10 million just following that plan without taking a monstrous amount of risk that will put everything at risk of loss, right? And so you got to kind of think about that. However, the most important thing here is what? It's this $236,000 of cash flow, right? So if I told you you had 25 years to build up $236,000 of cash flow, well, that's easier to wrap your head around, right? Because right now, if you're earning $100,000, dollars a year, your goal, what is that? If you break $100,000 in 100,000 divided by 12 is 8,000. 100,000 per year equals 8,333 per month. So really subconsciously, this is the number you want to get to. And this is the target that you want to start with in year one. And then what happens is you can evaluate and you can pivot and you can say, all right, what was inflation this year, right? Like, what is my income? What is my lifestyle? So year two, you can say, all right, inflation was 8%. So now we got 108,000, right, per year equals, and so we go 108 divided by 12, you're looking at 9,000 per month, right? But what the goal is here is year one, when you start investing, you want to save first, save money, not invest it because you want to take risk off the table. But then when you start to invest, you actually invest for cash flow producing assets. And the reason, because if say year three, you get, and let's just say you have a need for 112,000, right? And that's $10,000. No, that'd be 120. Let's just say 120 just for the sake of it. Let's say year four, because that's not really, you get to $10,000 per month required needed, right? Well, now you can start saying, okay, I've saved enough, I've got it, I'm gonna start investing. Well, now you start investing for cash flow, and instead of trying to chase this ungodly $10 million number that you just know you're never gonna get to, because if you start saving $10,000 a year or $20,000 a year, that's such a minuscule percentage of this, and it's just not gonna get there, and you know that. Instead of doing that, now you could start investing for cash flow. Maybe you get $500 per month of cash flow invested with different cash flow investments, utilizing this utilizing the money that you've saved to that point to buy cash flow producing assets. And then what happens is you keep saving from your active income and you allow this extra cash flow that you have to keep compounding on itself. And before you know it, this $10,000 a month requirement, as it continually goes up, you will eat into that and you will surpass it. And before you know it, this $236,000 number that you have, you're gonna actually reach what we would call financial independence or financial freedom much faster. And you can do that on a predictable basis. And this is one of the things that we utilize our strategies for in cash flow hacking to teach people how to do this. Because I'm a big believer, you are where you are in life because of who you are in life. And if you want to get to where you want to go faster, you need to become more. You need to invest in yourself. You need to take control of the results in your life. Investing in the traditional methodology, buying and holding and accumulating and chasing that $10 million number. First of all, most people don't even realize the number that they're chasing, and you're never going to be successful if you don't know what you're after. And most advisors don't even want to tell you the number you're after because they know that if you knew it was that big of a number, you're not actually going to do anything and you're not going to give your money to them, and then they're not going to get their fees and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, we're looking at this going, invest for cash flow, invest in things. Whether it's an active side hustle business that you could do. There are a lot of different assets. I've done videos on stuff like this, like Turo, buying cars, stuff like outdoorsy. I bought a camper trailer that I utilize and increased my lifestyle. I had fun with my kids and my family. And then we also cash flowed 35, 40% on a 2-year period. And I sold it, flipped it, made some money there. And that's just one example. People are renting cars, like car share, like rental cars. You can get assets pretty cheap and you can get really good cash flow. And it's a very marginal, very minimal amount of work for the amount of returns that you actually get in it. And then ultimately, then you get into the real estate game and you can build cash flow there. You can get great tax deductions, you get business deductions, you get real estate deductions, you get all these different things in these areas that get you actually deductions and not deferrals. So you take advantage of the tax code, helps you get on a cash flow basis where you want to get faster. This is the power of cash flow investing. This is why I'm a big believer. If you want to get where you want to go, you need to grow your skills here. You need to grow your knowledge, and you need to invest for cash flow. And subconsciously, your brain can wrap its mind around getting $10,000 a month of income because you've done it. You've succeeded. You've seen it. You've done it. You've touched it. You felt it. You've seen it in your bank account. And so subconsciously, you're going to believe that it's possible. Whereas at 10 million, you got nothing in you unless you are a trust fund person. You've seen this before in your life. Chances are, subconsciously, unless you're a really creative entrepreneur that knows how to go out there and create just wild amounts of success, you're gonna have a hard time wrapping your head around that. And that's just human nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment behind that. You just gotta understand what you're dealing with. And so that's why the cash flow investing is so important. So if you have any questions about this, I would encourage you, go down and link below. You can get a copy of the book for free. The new version is coming out next month, but they are going to be wildly different. So I would encourage to read this one first and then the next one coming out next month. Once this book is gone as well, they're gone. I'm actually taking this book out of circulation. So it might be fun for you to read and check that out first. But also if you are looking to get more clarity about how to implement a cash flow investing strategy in your life, you can actually go down in the link in the description below, set up your free clarity call with a coach on my team, and they're happy to help you out, have a conversation. Once again, this is not a sales pitch. This is the ability for us to have a conversation about what you are looking for and for us to be able to figure out how to help you reach your financial objectives. It's that simple. That's it. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell. That way you're notified every time a video is launched. Go check out our other videos. I'm going to put a playlist on the end here that you should watch. Go check it out right there because it's amazing. So hopefully this helps. Once again, comment. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to engage with every single one. Till next video, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon. See ya.